The stock of the day is brought to you by IG, Australia's #1 CFD provider. With over 17,000 markets and extended trading hours, turn US earnings season volatility into opportunity. Get started at IG.com.
And our stock of the day today is Steadfast. Now, we had an update from Steadfast this morning, the insurance giant releasing a statement to the ASX saying it rejects any suggestions its businesses operate unethically. Steadfast also claiming it provided the ABC with information relating to their story on 2 separate occasions, and it claims it wasn't included in their coverage. Now, shares in the insurance giant were halted yesterday in response to allegations made on the ABC Four Corners program that raised concerns around transparency in the strata industry. Shares have resumed trade, though, today, and look at that, down by 12%. All right, going to start with you, Rudy. What do you think here about Steadfast?
Maybe full disclosure, I'm a shareholder.
Okay.
But I do believe that you can still have your principles and your values when you invest.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of IVF, for example, waste management. And whenever the regulators look into companies from supermarkets to casino operators, very seldom don't they find anything. I still remember the Four Corners that tried to vilify CSL for paying people in the US for giving their blood. So you can't be too purist about these things, I think, because at the end of the day, businesses do what they do. And it's probably more the fault of unregulated markets and underregulated markets. And that thing that we have since the 1980s is self-regulation, which we all know never works. So I do think that I never like to see Four Corners where any of my companies
you don't want that, do you?
features prominently in. Having said so, I also believe that anything that happens right now is pure sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
I think any impact on the company's business operations, whatever, is at the very least somewhere in the future, if it ever happens. Mm-hmm. And if anyone has seen the Four Corners broadcast, it was basically about the whole strata management industry at large.
Yeah.
And the other surprising thing, I don't know what happened to John Sling, but John Sling was mentioned too.
And it's escaped unscathed a little.
But for whatever reason. Anyway, long story short, I'm not selling today, but I'll have to think about it. I might sell at some point.
So you hold?
But I'm definitely holding.
Yeah, hold.
I'm not going to sell because some knee-jerk reaction is happening in the market because someone said it's something on television. But we do need to be mindful as investors that things can happen to businesses. Not everything is above board. It happens with businesses, and we have to make our own decisions whether we want to own any type of businesses in our portfolio.
Yeah. All right, Philip.
It's an interesting one because I don't own it, but it's a great business that's stood the test of time. What's been written in the press and the ASX release doesn't pass the pub test, but their response was very logical, very rational in terms of the way they handle it, and it all sounds above board. And today's selling is a knee-jerk reaction, and no one wants to hear about a Hayne-type inquiry. And anytime you hear selling, mis-selling commissions, we all know what happened to Hayne. There are people who went through Hayne and clean bit of health because they did the right thing. So an inquiry doesn't suggest that things weren't being done correctly, and they flag they've been doing their own review. And thinking about it from an analyst's point of view, the division, assuming it's isolated a particular division, it's 6 to 10% of their profits, share price has fallen more, well and truly in the share price, assuming it's not contagious across the business. I thought their responses were very rational. However, it'll be simmed in for a few days. So I wouldn't, it actually does look cheap. I would give it the 3-day rule, let it sit, let it fester, let analysts downgrade their price targets as they do because share prices moved. So you'll see some price target downgrade.
You think
my
so?
guess.
You think so?
Do analysts follow the share price up and down with their price targets? I didn't say that. I'm an analyst. I didn't say that. I give it 3 days.
So sorry, you say it's cheap. Does that mean it's a buy?
No, it's a
hold.
Well, valuation is just one thing I look at. So I'm inclined to be waiting to buy this one, just not today on a day where this has come out. Let's see what follow-up articles are written investors. I mean, today, if a major shareholder, I haven't checked who's done the volume, if a major shareholder has decided to exit for whatever reason, it could be weak for 3 days. So I would just let the dust settle, let the broker reports come out. My guess is most people will reiterate their buy, and it'll
I think that's exactly what happened this morning.
Yeah.
I find your response a little bit contradictory because I compared a little bit to what happened to Woolworths. You know? Remember the whole political scene went over Woolworths? I bought more shares at $31, and then now $37, I believe. So as long as your focus is not over the next 3 days or the next week or the next month or so, why wouldn't you buy? Because the share price is undeservedly weak, I would argue.
You could, and my market timing skills are atrocious.
Yeah.
But I would wait at least 24 hours for brokers to write right and see if that moves markets. You might miss the first 5%. But,
All right, so hold for both.
It's a hold for
All
both.
right, so that is a hold for both Philip and Rudy. For our stock of the day, Philip saying it doesn't pass the pub test. Rudy is a shareholder, and of course, we're just going to wait for the news cycle to move on.
The stock of the day was brought to you by IG. Turn volatility into opportunity this US earnings season with extended trading hours on over 110 key US shares. Get started at IG.com.